The trouble with many teams is not a lack of effort, it's a lack of shared definition. When outcomes aren't clear, good work can scatter. People push hard, there's lots of activity, and some milestones do indeed land as planned, but others don't, and they drift just enough to force a replan. And from a distance, the project looks active, but up close, you can see friction collecting in various places. Questions that should have been settled at kickoff, assumptions that weren't written down, criteria that live in somebody's head instead of where everybody can see them. And how do we get here? Projects don't generally start off this scattered. Usually the kickoff is pretty solid. The roadmap makes sense, the sprints are plausible, the team understands the intent, but then a few weeks go by and you can feel a bit of separation between what's being built and what was originally pictured. Designers refine elements that didn't need a second pass. Engineers adjust code paths that the plan never asked for. QA even raises edge cases faster than the team can triage, because not everybody agrees which edge cases, which test cases matter the most. And none of this is malicious. It's just the natural outcome of smart people filling gaps with their best judgment. Now, if the gaps are small, that judgment helps. But if the gaps are about what the finish line looks like, well, it slows everything down. Now, when I sit down with studio teams, I often start with a simple question like, what does done actually look like? Now, the pause that sometimes follows that can tell you a lot. Each discipline typically has its own version. For engineering, done is the code is merged to the main line with a clean build. For design, its user experience is tested and tuned. For production, it's sign-off captured in the tracker and communicated to everybody. And all of those are reasonable. The issue isn't individual accuracy, it's collective alignment. Done is not a local judgment. It's a shared system condition that connects intent with output, with quality, and validation. If even one of those links is implied, the schedule pays for it later. Fuzzy goals don't usually stop a project outright, but they quietly reduce reliability. They make it harder to plan and harder to trust estimates. Over time, those small misalignments accumulate into reliability debt. That's the gap between expected arrival and consistent arrival. Now, the concept of a definition of done, that exists to prevent exactly this. It isn't bureaucracy, it's agreement. A strong definition of done does not describe effort. It describes evidence. It answers 4 core questions. What will be true and observable when this is complete? What artifact demonstrates that truth? Which standards define good enough? And who confirms those standards were met, and how? Until those criteria are satisfied, the work remains open, no matter how close it feels. When criteria are explicit, ambiguity has fewer places to hide. A good definition of done pretty much transforms almost finished into verifiably complete. Now here's an example. A tools team integrating a new asset pipeline reported roughly 90% complete for weeks upon weeks. Engineers believed the core flow was functional, but artists still couldn't use it. And production assumed that documentation and training would close the gap, perennially in the next sprint. Now we brought everyone together for a half-day session, and at the end of that, we wrote one shared definition of done. Artists can import assets end-to-end without manual intervention with at least a 90% success rate in live builds, and the path is documented where a new team member can follow it. Now that single sentence clarified the finish line, and 3 sprints later the team crossed it. Rework dropped by about a third, and the board stopped reporting theoretical progress. Confidence in the pipeline and in each other's updates returned, and the improvement was not about speed, it was about accuracy. Now, clarity doesn't slow creative teams. What it does is prevent duplication. Once a group interprets the goal the same way, conversations shorten and decisions hold. The small wins start to add up because they attach to the same outcome rather than spreading across adjacent interpretations. A definition of done is more than a project artifact. It's a leadership discipline. It replaces reassurance with specificity. We're close becomes 3 criteria are complete, 2 remain open. Now that shift from mood to measurement changes how a team communicates. It builds what I call a precision culture. Clear targets, honest status, and respect for time. Precision isn't control, it's consideration. You respect people's time by defining success before they spend it. Now, implementation will vary by team, but the backbone stays consistent. Tie work to purpose. Build new rendering pipeline is activity, but reduce frame compilation time by 40%, now that's purpose. Name the output. Prototype functional invites debate, but prototype merged to main, feature flagged with demo scene, well, now that gives evidence. And define quality. Make the bar visible and measurable. And then define validation. Decide who checks, how, and where results are recorded. These anchors, purpose, output, quality, and validation, they turn done into a shared system condition rather than just an opinion. When they're in place, teams spend less energy negotiating and more energy executing. Keep the definition lean, visible, and alive. Review it when the product or process changes. Remove steps that add friction but not clarity. And strengthen the ones that prevent rework or confusion. The goal is a clear line, not a thick rulebook. Now, reliable delivery doesn't come from urgency. It comes from design. Systems deliver what they're structured to deliver. If the structure leaves room for ambiguity, the results will mirror it. But when success is defined clearly, progress becomes predictable. You'll notice the change first in conversations. There'll be fewer debates about what close means. There'll be more discussions about how to close the gap. Then you'll see it in the plan. Tighter estimates, smaller buffers, steadier confidence. And finally, you'll feel it in morale. People work better when they can trust the line between open and complete. And that's what predictability feels like from the inside. Clarity creates structure, structure creates alignment, alignment, sustained and verified, is reliability. Define the finish line together, and quite a lot of the noise that once felt unavoidable will begin to fade. The work won't suddenly become easy, but it will become clean. And in production, clean is what progress looks like.
Hi, Jason here. If this topic resonated with you, you might find the webinar I just recorded interesting as well. It's about how to systemize AI so it actually delivers results. You can watch it at techleaderadvance.com/systemize first.